I'm 57, and one thing I wish I knew about when I was 30, or knew more about, was regret. Something I think we can all say that we've experienced in our lives. I think one of my earliest regrets was starting smoking. But there are different types of regrets, and I'm going to cover some of them today. As I already mentioned, smoking is probably one of my big regrets because of the health aspect more than anything else. And another area of regret could be careers. Maybe you had a job offer you didn't take and you later regretted, or a promotion you didn't accept. Or maybe you did something in work which probably wasn't the best thing to do and you regret that too. For me, it was, I always loved music. So I studied sound engineering and music. Of course, when you're 16, 17, you don't have the wealth of knowledge of life behind you. So you follow the dream. And I regret that in many ways now. It wouldn't have meant I would have stopped doing it because I always do music. But I would have considered being a pilot, something with a proper career structure and actually an opportunity in life. Not following a dream that really was always going to be an uphill struggle. Then, of course, there's relationships. Relationships is an interesting one. Again, maybe when you were younger, you dated a girl and it fell apart for whatever reason. Or maybe you knew a girl who you never dated, but you wanted to, and you never asked her. For me, when I was back in England, I dated a girl. And I often wondered what would have happened had we have stayed together. I finished the relationship. But here's another side of regret is you can regret something, and we all do. But the interesting side is we don't know what would have happened had we have done the thing that we regretted not doing. For example, with the girl I was dating in England, what if we hadn't split up? What if I had stayed with her? Now, I might think, we would live happily ever after and have 5 children, 2 dogs, and a cat. Not necessarily in that order, but then maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that might have fallen apart after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So even though you may regret not doing something, you don't know what the outcome would have been had you have done it. And going from relationships, for me personally, was moving to the US. I've been here 30 years, and sometimes I regret not having the family around me, my close friends around me. But sometimes there's a payoff also. I wouldn't have 2 great kids that I have today. Regrets is a really complicated thing. Let's start off by saying that. So there's payoffs for a lot of things, but I think the heaviest regret, particularly as you get older, and this isn't my regret because for me it was different, but if you're in your 50s or 60s, or you could even be in your 40s, truth be told, you can be in any age, but if you're in a relationship and you and your partner break up, that can be devastating, particularly if it's your partner that wants to break up the relationship. Maybe you think you weren't the best parent or the best partner or whatever the reason is. Maybe you could have done better. And then there's a regret that it didn't work out. And that's the heaviest one. But I think what you need to remember is that we all have regret, every one of us. Quite often they do say the actual fear of regrets is actually quite often worse than the actual regret, because that can paralyze you from perhaps trying something or doing something because you fear you might regret it. And as I always say, and I've said it in earlier videos, you can't move forward if you keep looking back through the rear view mirror. I'm not saying forget the regret, because let's face it, some regrets are really hard to forget, particularly if it's recent and heavy like a divorce. But you have to move forward. And ultimately, what actually happens is the regret actually make you who you are today. And if you can learn from it, it's not always a bad thing. I've created a community page on the website, and I really encourage people to check it out. There's a message of the day and a message board where people can post, share their wins, share their losses, share their thoughts. And it's kind of secure because you do have to sign up for the community page, and you get a verification code in your email. You just pop that in and you're in. And we just do that to stop any bots from accessing it. In this video here, I talk about how I realized time was more important than job. And in the other video is all about telling you how nobody cares. So check one of those out. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.